For a long time, pro coaches and amateur coaches have been trying to crack what I would call a hitting code and help their hitters perform better in games, whether it be professional or amateur hitters alike. We always want them to perform better, obviously. But we try to break the code and have been for decades and for a long time by using mechanics. Although mechanics are important, but I've come to understand that the knack that good hitters have really revolves around their timing. Now, it should be just a given, the fact of timing the bat to the ball in their home plate. I mean, that's just to be expected. But the inner sides of hitting and getting yourself in sync first, and then once you're in sync, trying to get yourself in sync with the pitcher's delivery, that's where the keys of timing are. So this is where I've been blessed to learn 10 models of hitting and how sophisticated it is and complex timing can be. But once we crack the code and understand all these hitting models and all these little rules that go apply to these models, okay, and how we can help the player time their adrenaline, then we can begin cracking the code and make our players better game hitters. So let me give you an example of similar models between two hitters. A leg lift model. You have Hanley Ramirez, who is an early leg lift model, and then you have Adrian Gonzalez, who is a later leg lift model. The early leg lift model means this: he's beginning to lift his leg and start gathering his own energy or adrenaline a little earlier based upon the pitcher's delivery, what section of the pitcher is moving in. Adrian Gonzalez begins to gather and collect his momentum and his adrenaline a little bit later based upon a certain section in the pitcher's delivery. Both are very effective, but we need to understand everyone has their own DNA and how they're going to collect and gather energy, based upon what they like to do, what's inside of them. And as a coach, once we understand these codes, understand these models and the rules that applies to the models, it's a lot easier now to look at somebody, decipher, hey, they're really trying to get started earlier, they're trying to get started later, and then we can apply the rules, and you know what? We find a success immediately. Sometimes all it is a matter of discussing it, not going over again and again and again off a batting tee or batting practice. Most players can adapt rather quickly, young and old. So what I want to summarize in closing and emphasize is how important are the details of when a player is going to collect his energy, gather his adrenaline, and what point of his stance, his swing, does he gather that, and in what section of the pitcher's delivery do you gather it in. Sometimes players are moving earlier, sometimes players are moving later. And to sort of pigeonhole everybody and say, listen, start slower and earlier may not match up to his athletic DNA. Sometimes players are more hyper than others and they have to get going. If you take away that hyperness, you just took away their success. So the best way to understand the cracking the code is first understanding the hitting models. The 10 hitting models for timing. That's the beginning place. Next is I have a series coming out, the 6 absolutes for timing. This gets into the heavy details of what's really inside of timing. So check it out, languageofhitting.com. I'm Dave KIRILLOFF.